I really have. There's probably literally thousands of videos covering this nonsense and fucking it into the ground already, but I don't care. The entire situation is so ridiculous, I feel as though I'm physically being forced to record a video of myself ranting about it. Maybe it's because I'm an old bastard and I still enjoy having actual control over the software I purchase and what I do with it. Maybe it's because at heart I've always been a member of the PC master race, and I resent any application that constantly runs in the background, soaking up my system resources in a fashion that results in an extremely poor ratio of CPU cycles to actual things that I want occurring. Maybe I'm simply a madman, a hater, a ruthlessly insane person that, for some unnatural reason, prefers that the companies to whom I begrudgingly give my hard-earned money provide me with a quality product or service of comparative value in exchange. Maybe I'm crazy. But I fucking hate Steam. And the toilet feast that is the Epic Store too. Honestly, I'm not quite sure how or why it happened. Maybe Valve realized that they could never truly top Half-Life 2, so they had to figure out a way to keep their company profitable without having to actually develop games. If I was less of a lazy fuck, probably would do some research and figure out some real data on it, but I'm not and I don't care, so I didn't. At some point around the release of Half-Life 2, I had to install Steam on my computer for the first time. I thought what most people thought at the time. Why do I need to install this to play your game? What else does this app do? Does it always have to be running? And why is it this horrid puke green color? And Steam also serves as a DRM bulwark as well, but that's a whole different video. Of course, yes, I know that you can technically run the exe directly, but if you want to re-download it, keep it updated, or even play online, you're forced to interact with the game through Steam. To some people, this is admittedly a benefit. They like the friends list, achievements, and the ease of use offered by having all their games in one self-contained app. Now, in a rare moment of lucidity, I will admit that I can in fact see how those things could possibly be positives. However, to paraphrase upper echelon games, I enjoy being combative to an almost unproductive extent, so while I can see how those things could be a positive, I still fucking hate them. Yes, being able to connect with your friends to play online is something I want to do. But you can't call something a fucking feature if your app is the only way I can do it. And that's on purpose. I wanted to play Borderlands 2 with my friend the other day. Couldn't do it. He had it on Steam. I didn't. I used to be able to do this without an extra app. You could just go into the network menu or whatever of the game. Now I can't. Now I have to sign in. Why the fuck is everything always asking me to sign in? I can't use fuck all these days unless I sign in. Can't use my mouse's configuration app if I don't sign in. I can't even update my fucking graphics card drivers unless I sign in. Uh-oh, somehow I got signed out of this website, so now I have to sign back in. Now I need to sign into a Steam account if I want to play a game that I bought. I don't want to sign in, sign up, download the update, install the launcher, wait for matchmaking, apply the patch, verify my account, receive the email, solve the CAPTCHA, or have Valve, Epic, or anyone else shit in my fucking cereal. And I especially don't want a goddamn Steam account. Yes, lovely, a paragon of modern convenience, the Steam account, without which I may not even have been afforded the privilege of purchasing the game in the first place. An account that constantly insists on bugging me to update my email so that they can spam my inbox with endless suggestions on how to give Valve even more of my money. An account with the primary purpose of streamlining Valve's ability to hoover up every possible bit of data regarding how, when, why, where, on what, and with who I play my games. And why would they do that, you ask? Well, to try and improve the experience and enjoyment their customers get from the platform? No, of course not. They do this for the singular and express purpose of monetizing you even further, by selling all the aforementioned info to God fucking knows who to do God fucking knows what with. About the only thing you can be sure of is that the net results will likely be a negative for the customer and related to you being targeted for even further and more effective exploitation. If I wanted to be forced into a predatory closed system marketplace where I have no choice on what platform I download or play my games, I'd be on my goddamn PlayStation. This is my fucking computer. I'm supposed to be in control here. I thought gating off features and brand exclusivity was a console thing. What the fuck is it doing in the form of invasive apps on my gaming PC? Sure, Steam does also place all your games in a menu that functions and is visually okay looking, I guess. So perhaps Steam is good for that. Or, of course, you could also just learn how to use a fucking computer and create your own shortcut folders, start menu groups, or toolbars for your games. And you don't need to surrender any personal data, email addresses, or contact lists in order to do that. Can you believe it? The ability to make easy-to-access groups of shortcuts to applications is actually built right into the operating system, something that you would know if you had spent any more than a minute and a half using a fucking computer in the last 10 years. And don't even talk to me about fucking achievements, please. I'm an adult. I don't need a bunch of boring, arbitrary goals hung in front of my face like a carrot on a stick to play a game if it's good. Playing a game should be its own reward. I'm not an 8th grader with an Xbox. Achievements are not a feature. They're a method used by lazy developers to increase your engagement with a game when its natural enjoyment period has long since expired. No fucking thanks, please. I'll pass on that. How about you just make a good game instead? And also, keep in mind, we still haven't mentioned the literally millions of shovelware asset flips that make their money by tricking innocent users whose only crime was believing that they were paying for a quality entertainment experience. Most of this kind of utter refuse would probably not even exist if it weren't for Steam providing them with a consequence-free platform with zero quality control or accountability from which to peddle their shit. Now, despite all this, Valve has somehow convinced PC gamers that we need Steam. We don't. Steam isn't a product. Its users and their data are the product. You know that saying, if you're not paying for it, you're the product, right? And the only service it offers is a quick and easy way to deliver as much of your money as possible directly to Valve. Yet, as abhorrent, abusive, disingenuous, and exploitative as Steam is, it actually has a competitor. Not a competitor in the game storefront arena, of course, but in the arena of, let's see how much we can exploit our users while simultaneously offering them as little as possible in the way of an actual product, service, or benefit. Congratulations, Epic. You've single-handedly brought the gaming industry to an astonishing new low. And that's really quite an achievement for an industry that in the past 6 months saw the release of both Fallout 76 and Anthem. This attempt at a product is so laughably transparent that Epic actually has to blackmail developers in order to get them to put their games on there. Yes, developers do get 88% of the revenue from games sold in the Epic Store versus 70% from Steam, but they would also get 100% if they were allowed to sell the games in stores or directly from their publisher. Are you really telling me that if going to Activision.com instead of Steam was the only way to buy a game, you'd just say fuck it and not get the game? That it would simply be too much trouble? What about using the Epic Store instead is easier or more desirable than that? Would people truly choose to run multiple launchers and background services over just buying a game from a publisher's website if given a choice? If you honestly support the Epic Store on the grounds that it provides the developers a larger share of the revenue, then theoretically you should be an even bigger supporter of removing Epic as the middleman entirely, right? I tried to get a physical copy of Sekiro from Amazon and it said in fine print, internet connection required. What the fuck? You can't just put it on a goddamn disc? I looked around to see if it was even possible to get a physical disc, but everything I found, at least in the US, all said the box just contains a motherfucking Steam key. To be clear, I have no problem with the concept of launchers or downloading a game if need be, and not having a physical disc. In some cases, I even prefer it. But I do have a problem if there's only one place I can download that game from, especially if that place is an always-on data harvesting piece of bloatware that looks like it came pre-installed on an HP desktop in 2007 along with Windows Vista. Have things really gotten so bad that not only are we accepting this, but some people are actually defending it? We're used to spineless journalists in the access media voluntarily painting their fellow gamers as the enemy to gain backpats and get tossed table scraps from their slimy masters in the AAA industry, but this seems like a little much even for them, right? Epic isn't even trying to hide it. They're waving it in everyone's face. Yep, we're bribing Gearbox, put Borderlands 3 on our platform first. What are you gonna do about it, bitch? Fuck you. Whereas, at least with Steam, you can make an attempt at defending it with the argument that yes, to some extent, Steam does actually provide a service beyond simply allowing you to spend money. They do have the previously mentioned friends lists, achievements, and online network play for those of you who are more comfortable using computers at a preschool level. But while I personally don't want most of those features, and the ones I do would be in the game anyway if Steam hadn't railroaded the developers into walling it off behind their platform. To be fair, yes, Steam does offer what I would begrudgingly refer to as features. However, the same cannot be said for the Epic Store. It offers nothing to consumers beyond an inconvenient closed ecosystem with oppressive terms and conditions and a woefully inadequate user interface that's more akin to a cruelly twisted and perverse and useless version of a vast antivirus. Please, if there's something that the Epic Store offers us as consumers that I'm not aware of besides permitting us to give them money and creating a shortcut to a game, let me know. Because as far as I can tell, I've been purchasing PC games for over 20 years just fine with no help from the Epic Store whatsoever, or Steam for that matter. Why do I suddenly need this? Oh, because Epic decided they're not making enough money with Fortnite and they could possibly make an even more ludicrous amount if they create an unnecessary and artificial divide in the PC gaming community by bullying developers into allowing them to gate off their games behind a paywall that Epic controls. Makes sense. The Epic Store provides no service, no product, and absolutely no benefit to the customer whatsoever. It does, on the other hand, provide a great deal of benefit to Epic itself, both in undeserved revenue they're siphoning off from sales of games they had nothing to do with creating, and in the form of personal data harvested en masse from their reluctant customers by their barely not spyware launcher. Somehow, they even take credit for Metro Exodus selling well on their platform. Where the fuck else was it going to sell? You quite literally paid them off to ensure they could only sell it on your store. What precisely was it about the Epic Store that you thought inspired people to select it as their platform of choice that wasn't a result of you forcing them into doing it because they literally had no other option? What was that amazing feature that you could only get on the Epic Store that made purchasing Metro Exodus on it such a special and unique experience that was worth not waiting to get it on Steam or anywhere else? This is like if KFC bought all the chickens and then bragged about how much chicken they were selling. Of course, you're selling a lot of chicken. You can't buy it anywhere else. There's no way to brag about how much of a product you sold when you've ensured you're the only place selling that product. Are they really fooling anyone with this shit? Obviously, Valve and Epic aren't the only guilty parties, but they're by far the most egregious offenders, Epic being the absolute worst. Uplay, Origin Access, Battle.net, the Bethesda launcher, Windows Store, the list goes on and on. The PC is an open platform, or in theory it should be, and it used to be, but somehow these companies are getting away with convincing us that it's not, and as a result harming and bifurcating the PC user base. They are quite literally inserting themselves into an ecosystem where there previously was no middleman and no need for one, and then declaring themselves a necessity. As I said before, I'm not necessarily against launchers or storefronts in theory. It's possible many indie games would otherwise not get the chance at exposure that Steam affords, and for that I'm grateful, and I think that's awesome. However, in their current implementation, at best they provide zero value and maybe the equivalent of a shortcut on your desktop you were going to delete anyway, and at worst they scrape your personal data and profit from it by selling it to the highest bidder. Adding the Epic Game Store to the mix isn't actual healthy competition, it's just another annoyance. Healthy competition would be, let's say, Borderlands 3 launching on both Steam and the Epic Store, one selling it for $5 less, and one offering more features and then allowing the customers to make their own choice. This is turning into a battle that shares a lot of unnerving similarities with the current streaming service clusterfuck. God knows how many ridiculous launches you're going to need in order to get access to any games being walled off behind artificial exclusivity by the time this is over. I think this may be the most convincing pro-software piracy PR campaign I've ever fucking seen. So yes, I hate them all, but not as much as I fucking hate Steam for starting us down this path in the first place.